Hello and welcome everyone to Next on Nautilus, one of the 3 live event series taking place during our 2020 Nautilus expedition season, which is happening now until December on nautiluslive.org. We're really happy to have you today joining us on Facebook and on YouTube, and we encourage you to drop your questions into the comments right below the video here as we move through our event. But before we get too far into the event, my name is Samantha Wishnack, and I am the Communications Manager for the Ocean Exploration Trust, joining you live today from the exploration vessel Nautilus as we just wrapped up an ROV dive. You can see behind me our team in the wet lab processing samples and our team on deck finishing some of our maintenance of the vehicles as we turn around and get ready for another dive off the southern coast of California. Currently, we're on expedition with the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary and are also doing some first exploration of the Santa Lucia Bank, which is part of one of the locations that's been part of the proposed and nominated Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary, again, off the coast of Southern California. So we have several special guests today joining us to tell us more about this expedition and more about the cultural heritage of this area. So as like many of you from home right now during COVID-19, adapting to a different way of life, we on Nautilus are also working with limited staffing on board. You can see some of our team in the wet lab with masks on. And also that means that some of our science team is actually helping us conduct dives from shore. So some of the scientists today that will be joining us for this event are working from their home offices and joining us in the expedition live. So here to tell us more about this expedition is Lisa Wooninck. Lisa, glad to have you
Hi.
today.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm pretty excited to be here today. I'd like to share with you about the National Marine Sanctuaries. At National Marine Sanctuaries, we acknowledge that a healthy ocean is the basis for many commercial and recreational activities like boating, recreational diving and fishing, and other commercial activities that drive coastal and blue economies around the nation. National Marine Sanctuaries work with diverse partners and stakeholders to promote responsible, sustainable ocean uses that ensure the health of our most treasured places. So here you can see a map. The Office of National Marine Sanctuaries manages 14 national marine sanctuaries and 2 national marine monuments around the nation, and we are within the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Many folks that are participating in this event today work for the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries. You'll see them later on. You can see on this map that we have, can you show the map again, please? We have 2 national monuments, Rose Atoll and Papahanaumokuakea. I love saying that, within the Pacific region. There's also the Hawaiian Islands Humpback Whale National Marine Sanctuary. Here on the West Coast, starting up north, Olympic Coast, Greater Farallones, Coradell Bank, Monterey Bay, and Channel Islands. The Nautilus cruise this past month just visited Olympic Coast, Monterey Bay at the Davidson Seamount, and we are right now within the proposed Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary and will be visiting Channel Islands. You will hear more about the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary later on. And here you can see a montage of the many ways visitors like you enjoy their sanctuary. It gives you a little montage of the different sanctuaries, but we promote diving, scuba diving, wildlife viewing, surfing and scuba diving. Here you can see a recreational fisher woman in Florida Keys. Whale watching, that's a very active activity in Channel Islands. This is a research diver. There's a lot of wreck diving, and this is wreck as in shipwreck diving in the National Marine Sanctuaries that protect these shipwrecks. Kayaking, really a lot of activities that we promote and that we want people to enjoy and connect with their National Marine Sanctuary. And then besides protecting natural and cultural resources within national marine sanctuaries, We also promote sustainable uses compatible with that protection, and we aim to connect and inspire communities adjacent to the sanctuaries. And this Nautilus cruise that we're participating in with our partner at Ocean Exploration Trust is just one of the ways that we connect with people adjacent to sanctuaries, but also the worldwide community to inspire. And it is no small feat what you have been watching on Nautilus Live, the number of crew and scientists ashore that bring these events to you live. And I'm now honored and pleased to introduce you to Violet Sage Walker. She is the vice chair of the Northern Chumash Tribal Council, and she will explain why we're exploring in this area around Santa Lucia Bank.
Thanks, Lisa. Haku, haku, welcome from the Chumash people. Welcome to everybody tuned in live. This is as exciting for me as it is for you to watch and be a part of the Nautilus crew as we go through some of the territory for the Northern Chumash territory and the proposed Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. It's exciting for us because our people have lived here for more than 15,000 years. Our people are ocean-going Tamal people, which is what you're looking at in this video is our Chumash plank canoe, the Tamal. We've been partnering with NOAA for a long time to return the Tamals to its traditional travel between the mainland and the island. You can see the impact of the restoration of our fishing culture and our paddling culture and our seafaring culture when you watch some of these videos. The ChumashSanctuary.com has some great videos. The Chumash Maritime Association down in Santa Barbara, the Wistoyo Village down in Malibu. A lot of these places are recreating and participating in the Tamal, the canoe culture of our people, which carried us up and down the coastline of California and also back and forth to the islands. When you originally tuned into the program, we had a map up from NOAA that was showing the coast of California, and it had all of the national marine sanctuaries. And so what you couldn't see on that map is that there was a gap between the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary and the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. And our vision for the proposed Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary was to fill that gap. And that gap is essential because it connects the Monterey Bay with the Channel Islands. Monterey Bay is the northernmost point of the Chumash people up in like Ragged Point area near Cambria. The southern point connects with the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. And then, of course, the territory of the Chumash people go down to Malibu and inland over to Bakersfield also. But the proposed Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary would protect the coastline. Originally, we got started to oppose seismic testing and further offshore oil drilling. But during that process, we also wanted to address climate change, and also look at climate research with NOAA and become partners with them to protect the resources that we have here on the coast. A lot of people are familiar with our Chumash sites because of the names of the beaches like Halama Beach and Avila Beach, Pismo Beach. This is the picture of Avila Beach, which is one of our largest and most sacred sites. We have our annual gatherings down here at the beach, and our people have been living here for, tens of thousands of years. And if you see going around the point there, that's the Pacho Coast where Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant is. And so part of the inspiration behind the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary is also to address the climate action and to address the resources that we have here, because we will be storing this nuclear waste and spent fuel at sea level. And so within the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary, need for us to be able to address and bring the top of the line research and scientific minds together is just growing and growing and growing. So I just wanted to once again welcome everybody joining the program. This is as exciting for me as it is hopefully for all of you, and I look forward to watching the rest of the program and learning and seeing what's under the Santa Lucia Banks, which is off the coastline here, and 200, 300, 400 years ago, even 1,000 years ago, the ocean level would have been much lower. And so if you can imagine, at one point, the Santa Barbara and the Channel Islands was much closer together. There would have been a lot less water there. There would have been areas where there would have been sea and land bridges. And so it's really, really interesting for archaeology, underwater archaeology, cultural studies, to see this dream of ours and our community and our ancestors all come together in this proposed sanctuary. And can't wait to see what happens.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Violet. We will definitely be coming back for questions for you. And for viewers tuning in, please do send in questions. Whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, we are monitoring them here, and we want to be able to feed them into our presenters. So thank you so much again, Violet, for that introduction to this region and how special it is. And to give us a little more background on some of the scientific goals of the expedition with Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary, I'd like to introduce Lizzie Duncan, research ecologist and one of the co-lead scientists for the current expedition. Lizzie, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks again so much for having me. I echo Lisa and Violet just as much. I'm really excited to be here, just as excited as I hope some of our viewers are. So I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the scientific objectives that we have with the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary, as well as across the broader coast. So we've been focusing pretty immediately on the Santa Lucia Bank and Channel Islands, but this is kind of a continuation of fieldwork for some objectives that have been more widely applicable to the entire West Coast. And so the California Current is one large interconnected ecosystem. And the way we want to study the seafloor, we have three primary arms in which we do so. And one began as just mapping the seafloor. We had no high resolution information until recent years as a part of the Southern California Mapping Initiative, which has evolved into a multi-agency, multi-office campaign of sorts, where a lot of people are working together. And you can see on your screen right now kind of what mapping looks like. It's a remote sensing way to understand how deep is the seafloor, and is it hard or is it soft? And this information is critical for being able to navigate the ocean. So a lot of ships and commercial traffic. We're also interested in the seafloor for a biological perspective in terms of what grows there, and in a blue economy perspective in terms of minerals and other resources that we're interested in. And so one of the bigger campaigns that has been happening on the West Coast is known as EXPRESS, or the Expanding Pacific Research and Exploration of Submerged Systems. And that has a lot of similar players and collaborators as the West Coast Deep Sea Coral Initiative, which began here on the West Coast in 2018. And so we've been integrating these partnerships across many different areas of expertise. And we've been using this funding and leveraging funding to really look at the seafloor. We're trying to map it. We're trying to visually survey it, as you're seeing right now with this ROV footage. Habitat mapping is an important part of understanding our sanctuaries, as well as just the broader ecosystems that we're protecting. And so through Express, through Express and the West Coast Deep Sea Coral Initiative, the Nautilus is helping us continue this work into 2020, which otherwise has been a really difficult year to get field work for the reasons that you explained, Sam, at the beginning because of COVID. So.
Absolutely. And Lizzie, tell us a little bit more about what makes this region unique. We just saw a little bit of the footage of what some of the deep sea coral and sponge reefs look like, but what particularly excites scientists here about life on the seafloor?
Yeah, absolutely. So Violet touched on this earlier, but and again, kind of stepping back in a larger understanding, Santa Lucia is in the banks there just north of Point Conception, and the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary around the 4 northern islands there is just south of Point Conception. And so this area is a really well-studied biogeographic break, or where the California current comes down from the north, which is very cold, and it meets the counter current coming up the coast of Southern California, which is much warmer water from the equator. And so these two water bodies are mixing, and it creates a really productive habitat. We get a lot of marine mammals. There's a lot of fish, diverse communities here in terms of commercial and recreational fishing. You can see these squid too. There's lots of invertebrate fisheries as well. And this productivity at the surface is something sanctuaries are trying to protect, but we also protect the seafloor. And so with a lot of production at the surface, we're exploring places like Santa Lucia Bank, where we've really not laid eyes on the seafloor much so far, to get a better understanding of what lives at the bottom. Is it just as productive? And within the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary, we have a lot of deep sea corals and sponges, and within sanctuaries actually all across the West Coast, we all contain deep sea corals and sponges. And so these places are special because we can help conserve and protect them. But first we have to understand them. So that's what's about getting eyes on the seafloor. So understanding where they like to live and why some habitats and not others, and those sorts of ideas. But it's definitely special because we do have a lot of diverse habitats and the deep sea corals and sponges and invertebrates that grow on top of them.
Yeah, these are some beautiful reefs that we're seeing right now. Fantastic. Diving in a little bit deeper into some of the main objectives of the cruise, I'd like to bring in Julie Bursek, who also is with the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary team as the team lead for education and outreach. Julie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Sam. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really enjoying watching this visually. It's beautiful. Yeah, we have some, with this cruise, we have some of the main objectives we're trying to accomplish, which include mapping, that you saw some of the multi-beam sonar footage of how we go about mapping these deeper water areas. And then the ROV allows us to put eyes in the water to actually see what's down there and characterize the environments more. And that's where we're starting to see these images of just beautiful sponges and deep sea corals. And then also you'll see, if you look closely at that rock, there's some sea stars mixed in, and we'll have shrimp and crabs and rockfish. So you never know what you're going to see when you start doing these transect surveys with the ROV. And it's really fun to tag along with the expedition as they document this live. Here's a nice close-up. You're seeing there's also looks like strawberry anemones in there, just a variety of invertebrates encrusting this rock. And these sorts of hard substrates that are down there are really important areas for corals and sponges to attach to. So that's what we're doing. Going along the transects, we're looking for some of these rocky outcroppings, and that's where we tend to find some of these beautiful coral gardens that you're seeing here. Just beautiful colors. And you have to think, these are habitats that are super deep in the ocean, and they're devoid of light. So I'm always just mesmerized when the lights from the ROV shine on these places. Just the beautiful colors. It's just it's spectacular to view. So that's a big objective, is really trying to map these areas that we haven't mapped before, and then get down there and characterize what's there. And and these are different coral habitats than what you would find if you went, say, to Hawaii or Florida, where we have the shallow water corals. These are deep water corals. They do not have the symbiotic algae that you would find in shallow water corals. Instead, they're totally reliant on filter feeding, and they tend to settle in places that have high currents, because that'll help bring in food for them to filter out of the water. So these can be rough areas to explore, and we have to really watch the conditions with the equipment that goes down there. But you can see all the different designs that these different sea pens and corals and sponges have to be able to filter that water effectively. And your deep sea corals can be found in all of your different ocean basins. And whereas your shallow water corals are typically found just in the tropical ocean bands near the equator. So that was some great video showing the diversity there. And then
yeah, and I think there's.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
It feels like we're doing live exploration right now. I'll let you keep going, and I'll have some questions for you.
Oh, okay. I think one of the things to really acknowledge here and to highlight is it's a huge team. Not only on the ship itself, and this year it's because of COVID, it's a skeletal crew, and it's the ROV crew. It's Sam's out there. It's a key communicator. We have a few scientists, but most of the other coordination is happening on shore. And the beauty of telepresence and being able to have these live connections to the Nautilus is that we can involve scientists from all different disciplines, because when we're characterizing and exploring these areas, we're sometimes seeing things for the first time. So it's really nice to be working with a coral expert or working with a fish expert for some of the rockfish, or the geology, looking at some of the faulting, or we've found really neat mud concretions on one of our dives in 2016 off of Santa Barbara Island, which gave us evidence that was an ancient shoreline. And let's see what video is coming up here. Oh yes, Submerged Sea Caves. We'll find, so there's a lot of cool geology in addition to the biology. And so we have these scientists, there's the mud concretion rocks. I mean, they're just these smooth rocks, and they're really deep. I think they were like 500 meters down, super deep. There's the Hercules looking at them. And it was really weird to see it. But if you go up to Oregon, you can actually see these mud concretion sorts of rock formations just on our beaches, and they're usually found in high energy beaches. So that area that we found with Hercules on that mission gave us evidence that area there was once exposed and was a high wave energy beach. So we work with geologists to help us be able to understand what we're seeing as the ROV is passing over transect. We're also working with a lot of different partners, from the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History, the Cal Academy of Sciences, the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, and the Harvard Museum of Natural History, or what is it? It's the Harvard University Museum of Comparative Zoology. Thank you. That's slipped my mind. And also with NOAA, the Center for Coastal Environmental Health and Biomolecular Research. They're interested in certain specimens. Some of the specimens are taken live, and they're actually grown in labs, especially with the NOAA lab. And then other specimens, they are collected and they are put in some sort of a preservative solution, and they become part of the voucher collection. And it helps scientists to be able to continue to study them long after the expedition's done. And an example of that is when we did the Arguello Canyon back in 2016, and we came across the mysterious purple orb. I don't know how many of you were part of that expedition. There it is. And it was just, we'd never seen anything like this before. At first, it looked like maybe it could have been a bouncing super ball or something. We just didn't know. And we decided to collect it. And the Hercules is equipped with different sort of, it has squishy fingers, or it has a suction tube. For this one, we decided, we measured it, and we decided to use the suction vacuum to be able to collect the sample. Had no idea what it was. Once we collected it, and the vehicle, when it finished the dive and came back up to the surface, it didn't look like a tight purple orb anymore. It actually had relaxed, and it looked like some sort of maybe a pleurobranch, which is a type of a snail that has a very small shell. We see them in that rocky intertidal a lot. But we went ahead and shipped that off to Harvard, and then it turns out that actually maybe it's a type of a velutinid, another sort of a marine snail that has a small shell. And I think it's a brand new species, and it's still being described. They're looking at the molecular DNA and describing that species. So stay tuned. Someday we will know what that is. But that was in Arguello Canyon, and a really fun discovery. And it just sort of, again, underscores why these sorts of expeditions are important. That exploration is really a key part of getting out there and understanding a place so that we can learn more about it and study what's there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'd really actually love, Julie, to kind of bridge some of our conversation earlier with Violet. Violet, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm just curious to hear a little bit more about how you or your community kind of see the deep sea as an extension of the coastal communities. You had mentioned that you kind of grew up scuba diving and are really familiar with those environments, but the deep sea for many of us is very unknown. So, what's your perspective on this kind of moving into the exploration of the deep sea?
Well, I think it's really interesting because the purple orb is fascinating. Like stuff like that is incredible. And when I was listening to her just now talking about the round rocks and the high energy like wave beaches 500 meters down, we had talked a lot about in the beginning about how our villages were much further out in the ocean. And so that kind of like reinforces that the ancient like Chumash villages were, 200-300 feet lower, maybe 500 feet, even 1,000 feet lower. So we haven't really been able to explore this type of, scientific study of our people and where we lived maybe, 15,000, 2,000, 10,000 years ago that you're doing here. This is giving us like whole new ideas of ways to our imagination, our dreams to go, and the potential for buried resources and buried archaeological finds is just unbelievable. So, I know where when I was young, I started scuba diving. I think I started when I was 12, and I was just fascinated with the Channel Islands and the beautiful kelp forests. And being at the kelp forests of the Channel Islands is like being in the redwood trees up in like Humboldt or, those rainforests. But who would have ever thought that the coral gardens, like the deep water coral gardens, would have been that beautiful? And I've never really seen them before, and all the colors, the purples, and just gorgeous colors. I mean, this is amazing, and this is stuff that I've never seen before. So obviously, a scuba diver can't go that deep. So this is stuff that I've seen for the first time, that we have this resource here in our waters that's so amazing, and it's equally as amazing as, say, if you were to go to the Great Barrier Reef, but in a different way, being that it's a cold water coral. And so it's just fabulous. And the what you had mentioned, how the north brings the cold water and the south brings the warm water from the islands and from Hawaii, and how the Santa Lucia Bank is where the upwellings from all the plankton and everything feed and come in here, and all the whales and dolphins. And it's just an amazing intersection of like thrivability is what my dad likes to call this area, and the Chumash area is how we want to see this area thrive and not just be sustainable, but yet we want to return it to the way it was prior to climate change and environmental damage and different things that have happened. So I think that this is one of the firsthand science backing the reason why we're doing this is because it's so amazing down there.
Absolutely. And we are getting some great comments coming in from our audience on Facebook and YouTube. And I'm going to put a spin on one from YouTube for you, Violet. If you could name the new purple orb species, what would you name it? Is there any Chumash word for an organism like this?
That would be my favorite name. So I just said
the audio cut out there.
I just said that until I think of something better, we could call it violets.
Okay. That works. That's great. Okay, well, I'd like to remind everyone in the audience to send in your questions. I know we had some students tuning in earlier who were curious about what we were looking for on this expedition, and hopefully you've learned a little bit more, so please continue to send in your questions. And speaking about students out on Exploration Vessel Nautilus, and with the Ocean Exploration Trust, the nonprofit that owns and operates the Nautilus, we really believe in inspiring the next generation of explorers and scientists and technologists and engineers to really get curious about the deep sea, but also about all of the technology and science that it takes to run an expedition like this. So on the Nautilus Live website, you can watch our live stream 24/7. Right now, you can see we have some topside cameras, so you can watch our team hard at work. But we also have the live stream running 24/7 and for our dives as well. And our next dives will be starting this afternoon, actually, 4 p.m. Pacific. We also have career pages, so you can learn more about the roles of all of the team on board and learn more about our backgrounds. And you can actually see the profiles of everyone who's on this event right now as shoreside participants. And I'd also like to introduce now Laura Francis, who's the education coordinator from the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary, to give us a little more information about resources from the sanctuary that you can use to follow along if you're learning at home or from school. So Laura, thanks for joining us.
Hi there, thanks so much, and I'm really excited to join these 5 amazing female explorers on this journey with Nautilus. And we've been working really hard to develop some educational resources. If you're an informal educator or teacher or student out there, we've developed some really cool resources that you can use both while Nautilus is going on and also in your classroom later. And so we've got this cool story map that we've developed that is a way that to combine text and interactive maps and other multimedia content. There's a West Coast Sanctuary story map you can see on your screen here. And if you scroll down on the left side of that story map, you'll be able to see where is deep sea coral found all around the world. The orange dots on that map that you just saw just above represent deep sea coral and sponges from all over the world. It's pretty amazing that in the US there's more than 662 species of deep sea corals that have been found. And if you scroll down just a little bit more there, you'll see a heat map of where we expect to see deep sea coral and sponges, those red areas there, and on the map on the West Coast. And they're little hotspots, and sometimes those are areas that we've spent a lot of time exploring. So some of the hotspots may be a result of the concentration of research in a particular area. You can see lots of concentration of study in the National Marine Sanctuaries. And so I urge you to explore this story map a little bit more on your own. And I'm going to show you some other resources here that we have developed. There's a deep sea coral communities curriculum, and that was developed by our team of educators here on the West Coast. And we've been able to create materials for high school classrooms. And one of the really cool things about this, there's a lesson plan that teachers can click on and use. And we've created some ROV transects where students can actually go through and they really become the scientist on the dive, and they're looking at counting and measuring so they're identifying the fish that you see there and the sea stars and counting the abundance, using the lasers that you see in the video to measure the size of the fish, and really understanding what the job of a scientist is in exploration. And so these are great lessons. They're aligned with the next generation science standards and really allow students to become scientists and get excited about the world of science and the world of exploration. And also, in addition to this curriculum, there's some great learning tools online from National Marine Sanctuaries. We have Nautilus Live expeditions. We have other expeditions happening in the National Marine Sanctuaries through distance learning programs that you can see on the screen here with the Explorer Sanctuaries Live. And I hope you'll take the time to join us on some of our future expeditions as well in all of our National Marine Sanctuaries around the country. We've got some upcoming ones. You can see we're working with Nautilus and Ocean Exploration Trust, and we also have some live events for teachers that explore different types of curriculum. So please sign up for those distance learning webinars and live interactions and other resources. And then finally, I work at the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary, which is right off our front yard here, and we've got some wonderful resources to share with you. We've got a Sanctuary 360 video. And so this is a video where if you can pull up the one that has the sea lion in it, when you can actually watch this with a headset on, if you have a virtual reality headset, an Oculus headset or something like that, or you can look at it on your screen. And the cool thing about this is that if you use the little buttons in the upper left side of the screen there, you can sort of look over your shoulder as if you were a diver in the water. And, you know, if there's a sea lion that comes up from behind you, and this video is taken just in the kelp forest area within our Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. And you can really get a 360-degree view of what it's like to be a diver. You can find a lot more resources also on our Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary webpage. And we really look forward to continuing to explore with you on Nautilus. I have my first shift tomorrow as a scientist ashore, and I can't wait to explore working with Lizzie.
We're looking forward to it too. Thank you, Laura. We've got a lot of great questions coming in from our viewers about how this all works, how we all ended up in these kind of careers and involved in ocean exploration. We got a great question from Kelly about Kelly on YouTube about what kind of area of study did you take to get involved with underwater or deep ocean or even archaeological exploration? So I'd love to go around the horn in our remaining 8 minutes or so and hear from everyone about how they got involved, and if you could give one piece of advice to a middle school or high school student, what would that be? We do hear about volunteering quite a lot, but we know that that's not always possible for folks. So besides volunteering, what's one way you can get involved in following an interest in ocean exploration or archaeology? So let's start with Lisa.
Well, I'd say follow your passion and just get involved in any way possible, because it's a ripple effect. One contact makes 10 more contacts, that makes 100 more contacts. Plus, it gives you an opportunity to see if this is really what you want to do. So yes, I know volunteer activities are difficult, but most researchers I know are just clamoring for somebody who has passion and know-how and just, you know, stick-it-to-itness to that wants to help with them with field work. It just requires a lot of people to help make this happen. And I think just the more that you do it, the more exposure you get, the more your community grows, and it's just a great way to see to get the hands-on experience, but also to widen your community of people that can help you with your career.
Thanks, Lisa. So Violet, over to you. I know
Can I go last? Can I go
sure,
last?
Yep, we can.
Okay.
We can.
Okay.
Yeah, we can keep going. So Lizzie, you're up next. And feel free to also tell us a little bit about how you got involved too, and we can share those early fieldwork pictures or photos that we have of everyone.
Sure. So I kind of subscribed to Lisa's strategy. That's pretty much what I did. So when I was very young, my family would have one vacation a year, and we would typically visit the ocean. We would go to the beach. And I just remember being obsessed with the ocean and the beach. And oh, see, there I am. I have a sand dollar. I was very excited about that. I just loved it so much. And I'm a first-generation college student. So when I applied and got into college, I really found out that you could major in marine biology, and it was a no-brainer for me. So once I got involved in my courses and volunteering in research labs, I just fell in love, and I pretty much followed the open doors throughout my career. And so I began my studies as an intertidal ecologist, which is the complete opposite of the deep sea. But based on my trajectory between internships and fellowships, my graduate work, and my first job, it led me here, and I couldn't be happier. The deep sea is just so mind-blowingly amazing. And so that's how I started, was just a love for the ocean in general, and visiting with my family and following my interests. I did do a lot of different research projects as an undergrad, as a graduate student, to figure out what I really liked. But in my career, I still ended up here in the deep sea, which I couldn't be happier about. So following those open doors and having great mentors or seeking out those great mentors, I think, as my piece of advice, because they really help you believe in yourself, which is awesome.
Thanks, Lizzie. Over to Julie.
Yeah, similar story. My first sort of connection and passion for the ocean started as a little girl sailing with my dad, and there it is. That's our first sailboat, the Lanakai. And my dad was an avid sailor, and so we'd spend our weekends sailing. And eventually, we got a bigger boat, and we'd do races, down to Ensenada and be doing overnight races. And so I really got connected with the wildlife that way. And I decided I need to, I've always loved the ocean. I draw a lot of just spiritual connection and energy from the ocean. So I thought this is what I need to do with my life, is work around the ocean. And so my undergraduate is in aquatic biology from UC Santa Barbara. And then I did my master's thesis focusing on intertidal ecology. But I've been an avid scuba diver since 1987 and have participated and supported a lot of monitoring projects in the kelp forests and those areas. So, and yeah, I think, so my first job out of college was working out at Catalina Island, and it did not pay well at all, but it was priceless, the experience, because it was really a launching pad for me to take what I learned and sort of figure out what my next step was going to be, and to start building that network of just talking to researchers, talking to people that communicate science. And I really like communicating science. That's where I feel a good stride going with that. And so I've run floating lab programs and met people in my former job down in Dana Point, and then moved up here in my current job with the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. And it's about networking and getting to know the community. And I work with a lot of students. And my whole pitch to students is really follow your passion. You don't have to be a white lab coat marine biologist to be able to have a career around the ocean. We have pilots, we have captains of ships, you talk to the ROV pilots on the Nautilus, and they got their degree in engineering with a minor in marine science, because that was a way for them to get out in the ocean and pursue a career that way. So you can have a career around the ocean with many different disciplines. So yeah, it's important to sort of get those mentorships going and figure out those pathways.
Thanks, Julie. Laura, you're up.
Thanks. Yeah, I also, at a young age, I was really inspired to learn more about the ocean. I went out on a trip to the Channel Islands when I was in 6th grade and was able to see a baby shark in its egg case for the first time, and just fell completely in love with the ocean. And so there's me with my little film camera, that's Santa Cruz Island in the background. And I moved all over the country after that, to Wisconsin and St. Louis and Michigan. But my heart was in the Channel Islands, and ended up getting my undergrad at Berkeley and went to grad school at UCSB studying deep sea biology, hydrothermal vents. And so now it's really fun to be able to come back to that with Nautilus, but from the perspective of being an educator at the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. And I've had a really wonderful career to be able to combine science and education. A piece of advice I would give is just be really persistent. Find that one mentor, that one person, and don't send them one email, send them 10 emails, and talk to them on the phone, and really make that connection of someone who's a leader in the field that you're interested in, and just be really curious. And so I'm excited to be part of this team.
Thanks, Laura. Violet.
I get to be last.
Over to you.
I just wanted to say exactly what she just said, being persistent, but what we like to say also is showing up. And I just wanted to mention how some of our viewers, there's people from our other Chumash community viewing with us, Mia Lopez, and people from Ustoyo. And these are the people that are on the sidelines of all of our gatherings, and that we go do the crossings, and these are the people doing the heavy lifting. And so we get to do like the little glamorous part right now, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes, a lot of people doing all the hard work. And like you said, there's a million different jobs that require us to be part of the ocean exploration and science and research, and even someone to work on boats and fix the boats and fix the equipment. And so whatever, whatever you think you might be doing in your future, don't just have a narrow track. Be open to any possibility and anything that comes along, because we are all here. And I never thought I would be live on board with the Nautilus, and I never thought that we would be rekindling this sanctuary idea and the Tamal crossings and all these things that we imagined 20 years ago are happening now. And so I think that being persistent and pursuing your dreams, and don't take no for an answer, I think if you can dream it, you can make it happen. So I just wanted to say thanks for everyone that is on board with us from around the world. And I appreciate everybody's support with the proposed Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary.
Thanks, Violet. Wow, I am feeling really inspired. I feel like let's go out and explore stuff. And actually, the ship just got underway, so the door that's here is now opening and closing, which is a great sound effect. You can also see everything vibrating a little bit. So that's also a great time to wrap up. We actually are at time. It's flown by. But thank you so much for everyone who's been tuning in and sending in your questions. We really hope that you continue to follow nautiluslive.org and participate in this dive. You can watch from home anywhere you are with an internet connection, and you'll be seeing the same thing that our scientists from home are watching as we explore. This afternoon at 4 p.m. Pacific, we'll be at Santa Lucia Bank, which is part of the proposed and nominated Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. So do join us this afternoon, and thank you so much to all of our guest presenters today. We've loved having you in the event. So looking forward to exploring with you more this week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.